Now, this isn't a serious pod, right?
That's correct. You read the disclaimer.
I just was wondering.
This is not. We can talk about. We have the freedom here to talk about anything we want.
Excellent.
It's free flowing.
It's free flowing, and like America, our freedom is derived from the people, our fans of this show. They've given us the freedom to talk about whatever we want, including the Charlotte Hornets.
The people.
They trust us with that responsibility, that we're not going to talk about something they don't want to hear about.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the pressure that you're under right now, Walker.
It's a lot of pressure. I'm kind of scared.
Welcome to This Is Not a Serious Hornets podcast. I'm gonna do that now on from now on in a William Shatner voice. This is not a Serious Hornets podcast.
Shatner, for guys that don't know, was on a show called Star Trek for a long, long time. Then he went on to do some insurance commercials or something like that. But he's still around. He's still hanging out there, I think.
Yep.
Also,
Yeah.
Shatner, a little movie nugget for you guys. The mask in Halloween was a William Shatner mold mask. So that's the face that it originally came from. I don't know if you guys knew that. Just a little Halloween nugget.
You know, I think I knew two William Shatner facts, and I think you just said both of the ones that I knew.
Nice.
Not there.
All three of the Shat Facts.
Yeah.
He was in Star Trek, Shat Fact. He was in insurance commercials, Shat Fact. His face provided the mold for the mask in the critically acclaimed genre Halloween film, Halloween.
Yeah, I'm tapped out. I've got nothing.
Shat Fact.
I don't know if you guys saw my Instagram post. I'm sure you did. I'm sure everyone did. But last week was my niece's 8th birthday, and fun fact, she's a big Halloween fan, huge Michael Myers fan. So I hooked her up with a mask. It's actually from Halloween 4, which is a little bit different, but she had a great time with it, and we took a picture together, and it was fun.
I'm going to sprinkle. I've pulled up a website here, 80skids.com. 21 facts you probably never knew about William Shatner. So I will sprinkle throughout this episode. I will sprinkle in some Shat facts.
Please, if you don't mind, that'd be fantastic.
But before we get to that, we've got to talk about the Charlotte Hornets. They had a huge week. By the way, thanks to our Patreon supporters. This show is supported completely by Patreon submissions, patreon.com/Hornets pod. You can support the show for as little as $3 a month. You can keep the Shat Facts flowing here on the show. So we thank everyone that has joined up. Tell a friend. We're talking about Hornets. We're talking about TV. We're talking about movies. We're talking about everything. I'm Doug Branson. I'm joined by David Walker and the host, one half of the hosts of Locked On Hornets, our good friend Walker Mail from ESPN. Is it ESPN Charlotte, ESPN 730? What are you guys called now?
It's one of those crazy names that is very long that we change every once in a while. 730 The Game, ESPN Charlotte, 97.5 FM, ESPNCLT.com.
Brought to you by Bally's.
Yeah, if you don't mind. I mean, if you could just say that entirely. It's 730 The Game, ESPN Charlotte. That's fine.
It's 7:30 o'clock, ESPN Charlotte.
That's
Walker,
where
you didn't have enough podding to do, enough broadcasting to do. You had to jump on, or you took the time to jump on with us. Didn't have enough going on.
I ditched you guys last time. Doug asked me to be on. What was it? A week ago? 2 weeks ago? It never happened. I felt bad. I need to do this, and so
it's a pity. It's a pity. It's a pity pod. Then it's a pity pod, is what it is.
Pod.
Okay.
Also, not a
pod.
Like that.
not a pushback the recording time for Locked On Hornets. So we have not recorded that yet. So as soon as I'm done with this one,
fresh Walker.
Right. As soon as I'm done with this one, then I'm going to have to hop on Locked On Hornets right at basically an hour from now. So
we get fresh recording. Walker, but we also get salty Nada because Nada knows you're on the show. And we got to get Nada on the show. So now we're gonna have salty Nada next time.
Are you gonna be able to tell the difference though? I mean, you always get salty Nada. That's what he brings. He brings the salt to every recording.
Oh, we can butter him up. We're really going with the food analogies here, which is very on brand
salt
for Nada.
And butter.
Yeah.
popcorn
But Walker,
specialties.
I have a prediction, not for this show, but for your Locked On Hornets recording. I think it's going to be the best one you've ever done because I don't know why I'm telling you this, but a couple weeks ago, I did your show and then I did this show, and it was just unbelievable. Knocked it right out of the park. So you get a little warm up.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you'll be ready to roll.
You think we bring out the best in one another, and then the late
that's what I was saying.
For the next pod. Okay,
that's what I was saying.
Well, listen, you're certainly enjoying talking about one another. I don't know that anyone else is enjoying it, but you certainly are enjoying it. I'll tell you what I enjoyed this week in Hornets basketball. It was a bit up and down. Walker, you and Nada called. I don't know what you called that loss. I remember the title of the episode referenced the loss to the Chicago Bulls. Was it the most difficult loss of the season or worst loss of the season? Or it wasn't an embarrassing loss, but it was just, it felt like a critical game. And they lose that one. They drop that one to a Bulls team that's also fighting for a playoff spot.
Yeah.
Did you think, oh, well, season's over?
Yeah, I don't know if I thought that the season was over. I think, one, not as in charge of the titles. I don't know what he named it, but if it was what we had talked about, I think it would probably be the low point of the season.
Low point. That's right. That's what you called it.
That would make sense. And I agree. I think it was the low point of the season. It was really bad against Chicago. No one had a good game. Anybody that was hot, like a Miles or a PJ, they didn't show up in this one either. You couldn't depend on Terry to save you. You get destroyed. You lose every single quarter. It's a Chicago team that didn't even have Zach LaVine. And it was a critical game that was just another loss on top of another loss on top of another one. I mean, they were in a real low point for them. I can't remember in a season that has had a lot of good feelings. We've had some bad ones with the injuries. LaMelo going down for sure. But when LaMelo goes down, right, Hornets go 4-1 the next 5, and the only loss is to the Suns, who are really good, and that was in overtime. It just felt to me the worst that I had felt all season long. And even with the loss to Cleveland after that, if that were to have happened, I just felt it would have been in the same tier. That loss to Chicago was the low point of the season for me. And then the second night of a back-to-back, I didn't feel good about that game against Cleveland because they had struggled with the Cavs a couple of times already this year. And then the Celtics, who had just beat the Hornets by 30 earlier this month, they were on the horizon for a Sunday game. And it's why you got to give the Hornets credit for bouncing back, winning 2 big games, and having a really good performance against Boston. Over 23s, 4 guys getting over 20 points. That's going to get it done. And so they deserve a lot of credit. But I really do think that Chicago loss was the worst, the low point of the year.
So the Hornets shoot 25% from 3 in that game. They can't. Their shooting isn't there. Their defense isn't there. Their rebounding isn't there. They got beat by Vucevic. They got beat by Thad Young, and some major changes happened to the rotation that we'll get to in just a second. Starting with that Cavs game and leaking over into the Boston game. But I want to hand it over to David. Any thoughts on that loss to Chicago? Did you think that the season was over? Honestly, I think it's fair to think that at that point because things were slipping. And then that Chicago game felt like, oh man, I don't know that they're going to be able to recover.
Well, my night was over with them by halftime. I'll tell you that much. I mean, it was Walker's right though. It was a lifeless performance, which is not something we've seen a lot from the Hornets, which is why I felt so deflating. There was no fight, there was no pop, there was no energy, and you were playing right against a Bulls team with no Zach LaVine that was trying to figure out how to play with Vucevic being the main guy that hadn't figured out anything as of late. And the Hornets hadn't shown us that this year where they just did not show up. And this was just a complete stinker. It was hard to watch. It was one of those games that was really hard to watch. And like I said, I think I ended up turning it off and coming back to it because I was like, I can't handle this tonight. That's how bad it was. And we just haven't seen that from the Hornets. We've seen it a lot in the past. Like that used to be a weekly, I'm going to say nightly occurrence where you would see something like that. And this Hornets team has changed that. So from that standpoint, completely low point of the season. There hasn't been an unwatchable Hornets game. Maybe one other one, right? A stinker here or there against the Nets or Boston, right? But not against like a Chicago. You can chalk that up to playing a much better team against the upper echelon teams. Against Chicago, it was totally deflating and hard to watch. And that's what made that bounce back against Cleveland so important, obviously, but so encouraging because that's the Hornets we've seen. They bounced back and got a win, even though Cleveland had been a bit of a kryptonite team for them. So it was good to see them bounce back and say, we're not quite done yet. some reinforcements are coming. But yeah, man, that was really bad. We don't need to talk about it anymore.
William Shatner has been married 4 times as of the writing of this article from 80skids.com. Shat fact.
Thank you for that. I can't wait for the rest of them. Are they going to be better than that one? Like the four times that he's been married, it's starting off, I guess, pretty decent.
William Shatner has raised millions of dollars for charity with his horse shows.
Oh, okay.
Shat fact.
I didn't know that.
It's a good man.
A horse shat fact.
Okay, I want to talk about what happened after that loss to Chicago, which David and Walker are right. They looked deflated. And I honestly think that like the expectations on this team are so brutal. Like we expect them, because of what we've seen this season, we expect them to stay in every game. We expect them to fight like hell every game. And they've taken injury after injury, and they've exceeded their expectations. This is a team that you can really get behind, and that nationally we're seeing people get behind because they see the fight, they see the intensity of these players, and they see the talent as well. It's just a different level of Hornets basketball that we've seen in quite a while. But that game didn't represent that, and so you saw some changes from Borrego. He shortens the rotation. Cody Zeller has accumulated 2 straight DNPs now. He's out of the rotation. He goes straight 8-man rotation for the Cleveland game. It stayed short for Boston, but we saw the Baby Bees come out there when in the fourth quarter when it was a blowout. But Walker, what do you think about this decision by Borrego to say, all right, abort whatever I was trying with Vernon Carey, abort whatever I was trying with sort of splitting minutes between Cody Zeller and Bismack Biyombo, abort? I mean, it seems like Borrego finally put his foot down and said, all right, we got to figure something out here.
The Bismack Biyombo Cody Zeller thing is still weird to me. You're playing the worst player. This is what Borrego does, right? Like Borrego will do this. He'll go with crazy rotations, and I'm fine with him being the mad scientist. I like that he wants to go to something different. If he clearly doesn't think whatever he's doing prior is working, right? If he wants to go somewhere else. But Biz is just the worst player. Is there anyone out there that thinks Biz should be getting more minutes than Cody? Because it's certainly not me. And so that's the thing for me, that 27 minutes against the Cavs is what Biz got. You go to this Boston game, Biz comes in.
It worked. I mean, they got 2 wins.
But it's not because Biz is helping them out. In fact, Biz is actively hurting them on offense. How many times have you seen him not be able to catch the ball still, which is the old thing against Biz, but that it keeps happening. Like, as long as you continue to do it, then I'm allowed to get mad at that still. If you can't catch slip pass in the post,
can I give you a counter argument? Can I give you a counter argument? Because this is
I'm trying to give me a good one.
Well, that's never stopped me before. I'm trying to jump into the mind of Borrego here and try to figure out, because I'm too lazy to jump on some of these Zooms and like actually ask the question. So I'm just gonna assume. But like what the idea here, not that he would answer anyway. These coaches never give away why they make these rotation changes. But I'm trying to get into his mind here. And I'm thinking like there's a counter move that's happening to the Bismack Biyombo getting more minutes. And the counter move is playing PJ Washington more at center to give your team a little bit more offense, and saying, I think he looked at the Cody Zeller situation and said, look, what Cody gives me on offense, I can get other places. But what he doesn't give me on defense, I got to get that from Biz, and I really can't get that from Vernon Carey or anyone else. Somebody that when they play this zone, somebody that you can stick in the middle of the floor and will move some of these drives out of the lane, or will at least give you an opportunity to send a shot back and give you a little bit more strength on the rebounding end as well. I mean, I think that's all he's looking at here, saying, I got to get something defense and rebounding wise. I'll plug in PJ to try to get some added offense at the center position. But I think that's why you're seeing the Zeller DNPs.
Yeah, and it may not be over. I mean, would you be shocked if a week from now he was going back to Cody?
Not at all.
I think he's trying to sew this thing together, patchwork it together at the center position, because we all know it's the gaping hole. It's what they have to address. It's what's going to kill them. It's what's going to end their season eventually, most likely. He's just trying to put his best players on the floor, I think, at this point, which is not something I'm particularly mad at. Trying to figure out who you're going to keep or who you're going to play or who you're going to have there between Miles and PJ has been like the unsolvable mystery that's been going on since they've both kind of had been playing well together. So to put them on the floor at the same time, I mean, that starting lineup has got to be one of the smallest, like, since the 50s. I don't know. I mean, PJ at 6'7" is playing center. I can't imagine there's many starting lineups that have come across, the NBA in recent years, even though they've gone small ball, to have it that small. So he's trying to get his guys playing well. Does it feel like PJ plays better as a starter? I mean, that to me, when he has a dud, it's almost coming off the bench. But maybe he's trying to work something there too. So I'm not mad at it.
Well, I mean, I don't even know how much you can count this, but the two games that PJ came off of the bench against Portland and the game before in Chicago, I believe that was New York. PJ still had a good game in that one, but it was Vernon getting the start, playing 3 and 7 minutes, then PJ coming in and then going for 20.
Basically a start. It was basically
right.
a start.
I mean, yeah, you can't really call him a pine player when he's coming in, playing 30 minutes, and then immediately getting thrown in after 3 and 7 minutes for Vernon. To me, it's the biggest problem I've had with Borrego all year, and I think he's done a good job. Just because I've got a couple problems doesn't mean I don't think he's done an excellent job in some regards. But I think he tries to throw a whole bunch of lineups out there on the floor just to see, hey, maybe we can get something here. Maybe this will work. And he goes away from just playing his best players. For me, it took way too long to throw Malik Monk in there when they needed offense desperately. I don't know why they continue to play with business minutes and then throw him in and then take him out and then throw him in, DNPCD. And then Cody Zeller comes back at the beginning of the year and helps them out a lot. And then eventually we get to the point where Cody's not playing anymore. And I just think we kind of have an idea on who the best players are. I mean, even I wanted to see McDaniels a little bit earlier, and he's been struggling offensively a little bit here as of late. But I don't think, besides Caleb offensively every once in a while, they don't have the same type of capabilities that McDaniels does. And for me, I just think there's a hierarchy of talent. And sometimes basketball doesn't have to be too hard. Just play your best players. And I don't think Borrego does that all the time. In fact, he quite frequently goes away from it.
Well, so what you're saying, Walker, is that he tweaks the rabbit ears a little too much. And you might be too young for that reference. And I know some of our listeners might be a little too young for that reference. But back when, before, this would have been still cable. But when I was young, like, we didn't have cable and you just got the broadcast channels. But the only way you could get the broadcast channels is if you had these like rabbit ear antennas. And you would do all kinds of things to get a little bit better signal. You'd try to throw them, up on high on a bookshelf. You'd put tinfoil on the rabbit ears, but you would always tweak the rabbit ears to try to get the best signal. And sometimes you would get a pretty good signal, and you would think, okay, if I mess with it just a little bit more, I can get an even better signal. And you would do so, and you'd lose it completely.
Oh, I lived that. I when I was growing up, I had about it got like 7, maybe if you were lucky, you got into the double-digit channels with those rabbit ears. And I would fall victim to that. I wanted to get a perfect signal, and so I would play with the rabbit ears a little too much, and then I wouldn't be able to watch The Simpsons on one of the 10 channels that I got, and it would make me
and sometimes that's right. Sometimes, and this is what's happening to Borrego. You would mess with one channel. You'd go, yes, I got it. It's perfect. And then you would want to switch it over to another channel, and it would just be completely busted. And so that's what I'm saying. What he's doing here with the center position is one maneuver.
He's taking it out of the equation, though. I mean, that's what I think. He's playing his best players. I mean, I don't think Zeller, like, to me, whether he's tinkering with Zeller and business minutes, I'm like, do what you got to do, man, just to get it home, to get it this season, because I'd rather see those other 5 guys out there together, to be honest. I mean, I know it's lacking. I know it's not perfect, but he's trying to get guys that can play basketball on the court. I just think Zeller is really having a tough time, adding a lot to this team right now, and certainly not on defense.
Well, and I get you there. I think that overall as a player, offensively and defensively, Cody Zeller is better than Biz, and therefore should be out there over Biz.
No question.
When we go 1 through 5, it's another point that I was mad with Borrego. He just refused to go to PJ at the 5 early on and then stick with him. They had talked about that at the beginning of the season, that PJ was going to play a lot of center. And then it took him a while to really stick with that. It's like, look, you look at the lineups, the numbers suggest that they're a lot better with PJ playing the 5 than when you don't, than all the other lineups out there. And he just refused to stick with it until eventually he would get there. And that's the thing with Borrego too, I'll say. it just takes too long. Like he gets there, he gets to where I want him to be with his decisions, but it just takes too long. And then he'll
You're
mess
so
with the
impatient, Walker.
I am. And then he
And
messes with
selfish.
the
You're
rabbit
selfish.
ears.
You're selfish and
Yes.
impatient.
Yes, I want my lineups on the floor. And then he messes with the rabbit ears, like, oh, wait, let's just put it back in this one position that was actually working. And then he goes back, and then all is good again. That's what Borrego has done. But remember, it took a while for PJ to get there. And defensively, PJ's really grown. I was looking up the most amount of blocks in the leagues, in the NBA, and looking at PJ, what he was doing, guys, he's like top 20 in blocks per game. And then if you filter it out to, amount of minutes and starts that these guys have had, he's top 16, and he's certainly the shortest player in that category. Well, PJ's become a better rim protector. And it's funny because we've also talked about this too. Can Miles and PJ coexist on the floor at the same time? Yes. PJ at the 5, Miles at the 4. It's worked out pretty well for him.
It has worked out. I will just finally say that I think, again, I'm trying to crawl into his mind, and I get you want to see more Cody Zeller, but I really think that he looked at that Chicago game and saw how relentlessly Chicago attacked them inside in the paint, and said, I've got to just have a body that people are a little afraid to attack. And I just don't think that there's anyone that's terribly afraid to attack Cody Zeller. I think they might be a little afraid. It's not a perfect solution, Bismack Biyombo, but I think it's probably the one that he'll ride for at least a little while longer until some more of these bodies get back. But it's also, I'll say this, it's nice to see a Hornets team not play Cody Zeller or not have Cody Zeller available and not completely crumble, right? That's a significant evolution of this Charlotte basketball team. You will remember teams past that would lose Cody Zeller and lose 6-7 games out of 10.
There was like a 3
North Star. They had nowhere to
go. I think it was, it might have been the 2016-17 season when they didn't have Cody and they went 3-17. There was like a 20-game absence from Cody, and that was the losing streak that we could all remember. When Cody didn't play, the Charlotte Hornets would lose. And your development you're talking about, Doug, that happened as soon as this year. I referenced it already, but at the beginning of this year, they didn't have Cody, and they were playing okay, but then Cody comes back and they start winning a little bit more. So that's even a development that's happened as PJ has gotten a lot more comfortable at the 5, as James Borrego has hitched his wagon a little bit more to PJ playing center. They've been able to kind of sidestep the problems when Cody Zeller has been out.
Legendary musician Leonard Cohen and William Shatner are cousins.
What?
Shat fact.
Was that the most surprising one so far? Is that
I've got more.
That was pretty surprising.
You're never going to run out of Shat facts here. There's 21, but I bet there are 21 more elsewhere on the internet.
He's lived a life, man.
We got to talk about this Boston game, but first, we before we do that, we got to talk about some shoes. It's our one of our most popular segments. Shoe ought to know.
You
ought to know. Let me do that again. I want to get the full experience there. I had all kinds of things go wrong there on the board. Let's try it again. You ought to know. Shoe ought to know. David, go for it.
I love that drop so much. But by the way, real quickly, I'm rounding third on my Office rewatch, firmly into season 9 at this point, and it's a struggle, dude. I know we talked about it a little bit before, but the Andy-led Office is just really struggling to find its North Star, and we'll see. I know how it ends, but I had forgotten how bumpy a ride it was, and I owe you an apology, Doug, because the Robert California, him being in there, kind of the straw that stirs the drink for that ensemble, was actually a nice and needed change when you see what came after it.
So underrated. Robert California is so underrated in that series.
Super weird. I mean, just a totally different show than when Steve Carell was on it, obviously, but probably the better of the two choices. So maybe we'll round back to that when I finish the rewatch.
Well, I think it's a testament that the show survived. And typically, shows don't even survive one season after a major character leaves. So I think as much as people want to dump on New Office, it survived multiple seasons with a major character leaving. I think Robert California, James Spader, his just ability to kind of go in and use that acting prowess, but not He's never like taken himself super seriously. Lent itself to that show. And then even The Office understood that they had a problem with Andy because they like made him go on a boat trip for a little while.
Well, so yeah, well, some of that must have been hangover related, like not his, but the
probably.
movies. Yeah, but certainly they were probably.
But the show got
make two,
I
make
think
three,
the show
make
got
four.
better when he went on the boat trip.
It did. It did. Then you lean on Dwight. I think that's probably what they should have done. Anyway, shoes. I said that because obviously the drop is Kevin Malone singing on karaoke night, and we put shoe in there, which is great, which is my favorite. But Walker,
genius.
This will be familiar to you because we already talked about it last week on your show. The Ama Maniere Air Jordan 3 is actually coming out this week. Doug, this is a shoe that's done with a boutique in Atlanta called Ama Maniere. It's a boutique, and on your show, Walker, I think it said it was like a interior design showcase. It's actually like a hotel. So it's a boutique and where you can buy clothes and then wear them up into your room and then sleep in them if you want to, I guess. But they did an Air Jordan 3, Doug, and they have a sister store here in Charlotte. James Whitner is kind of the head of that conglomerate, that store. And they did an Air Jordan 3. It's called Raised by Women. It's kind of a salute to the women in his life. They were supposed to release last week, and in the wake of the court case results in Minneapolis, they moved that. They took a pause, which I thought was good. They don't need my judgment or thumbs up on that, but it was a nice move to see, just to have them take a break. And then they're going to release it this week. So it's an Air Jordan 3 premium materials, very cool shoe. I do have one on the way. Somehow I was blessed by the sneaker gods, so that will be here soon. And we can throw another picture up of it, but I think most people are familiar with it. Walker, you were a fan of these, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, you know what it is with me, David. The Jordan 3s, those things were fantastic. And I was so happy. We mentioned it. I wanted to give you a shout out on Locked On Hornets when you got them. I was so happy for you because I know you had been wanting those, and you said it was going to be too hot of a commodity for you to be able to land, but I'm glad you did.
Yeah, so they've done the release very well. There you go. Nike and Nike has had a ton of backlash over the last couple of months with a botched Air Jordan release by Marcus Jordan. Then the executive being let go or leaving Nike with all the hubbub around her son and being a reseller. So all eyes were on them with this one, and I think Whitner, Ama Maniere, Jordan, they all knew that. They've done 2 different raffles, and they're doing a release through his store this week, and then they're doing another sneakers release, I think, in May. So they're doing this release about as well as you can do it. I do say that because I have won one, but I have seen a lot of other people winning them too. They're actual winners out there getting the shoes, getting them in hand, being able to enjoy them. So hats off to them for this. I think everyone so far is really pleased with how this release has gone. And it's something I think the sneaker community was starving for, just like a fair shot to be able to get these shoes, which is good. And the resale price is actually coming down on these as a result.
The inner part of this shoe screams luxury.
It's luxe.
It looks like a Rolls Royce interior.
It's luxe. Yeah, it's a really cool shoe. It's classic. It's simple. It's clean. And just a great one. So coming out this week.
You say shoe, or you say boutique. Does anyone call this a shoetique? Because I would totally call this going to a shoetique.
No, that's a great entry, Doug. I'm proud of you for that one.
Thank you.
That's good.
Why doesn't? I mean, I feel like that's
not that I've heard, but
well, now it's your job to go and spread the gospel.
We can suggest
start a shoetique. No, these look cool. I would wear these.
There you go. Sign of approval. Yeah, I mean, they just took off the famous elephant print from the Air Jordan 3. They put suede on there. And I mean, it's pretty simple. He wanted to design something for women, but the guys could wear it too. And that's not something that's done a lot. So that's a cool thing.
They call that unisex.
They did it.
So that's it. Is it a word that people use?
Unisex.
It's my entry.
That's
yes.
it.
Yes.
Unisex. So very excited. So if anybody out there is listening to this, wants to sign up for the raffle or wants to get on the release tomorrow, Ama Maniere, go to their website, And then Sneakers will release it a couple weeks from now too. So very cool shoe. And still no size 15 men's though, Walker. So
yeah, I mean, I'm not.
Nothing we can do about that.
I'm only disappointing myself if I come in with the size 15 expectations, and it's just too much pain, David. I'm not going to do that to myself. You just let me know when I get the good news, and I'll allow it to be a surprise. But other than that, just can't come in with any expectations.
That's right.
One of William Shatner's early films was shot entirely in a made-up language. And I know what you're thinking. It wasn't Klingon.
Yeah. That's the fourth. I said I was tapped out. I did know that Klingon was a language, I guess, of Star Trek or whatever with William Shatner.
You're kind of a Shatner file.
Yeah, I had no clue. I've never even seen Star Trek. I don't know if that's going to be a problem with you guys, but I'm a Star Wars person, not a Star Trek person.
I'm Star Wars as well. I'm only Chris Pine Star Trek. That's the only Star Trek I subscribe to.
So this film that I'm referencing was made in 1966. It was called Incubus, and the film was shot entirely in a made-up language called Esperanto. It was created. It was a language that did not develop naturally, but was instead created on purpose by a man named L.L. Zamenhof in the late 1800s. It was created to be a universal second language, which people from anywhere in the world could use to communicate with each other.
I kind of like that. Kind of like NFTs, right? I mean, he was the forefather, maybe. Didn't catch on. That is such a 70s movie Hollywood story, dude. That's fantastic.
Okay, let's move on. We're going to talk about what we're watching here in a moment, but I want to talk about this game against Boston. National TV game, a rematch of a game in which Boston completely and utterly handled the Charlotte Hornets. Kemba Walker in this game, a return, and the Charlotte Hornets give a little bit of revenge back to Walker and the Boston Celtics. They win in a blowout on national TV. You had the announcers all over the Hornets. They were loving what they were seeing. It was just a beautiful, beautiful moment for fans. And all of this, guys, without LaMelo Ball. That may be the best part about it. Obviously, we want to see LaMelo Ball back, but the fact that you didn't have that sort of easy narrative, right? They could really, they looked at this team and they said, wow, Rozier's been playing amazing. Wow, look at Miles Bridges' development. Wow, look at what Devontae Graham has been able to do after that rough start. Like, you had those storylines throughout this game without LaMelo's presence. So I thought it was just a really, really fun watch.
Well, and they know that Miles Bridges, he's the draw if LaMelo's not out there. And with being the best in-game dunker, according to Stephen A. Smith, carving out a whole section of his show to Miles and acknowledging that he's not only just a dunker, that he's actually got some game to him as well. Certainly this season, the improvement has been insane for Miles. It's been awesome to see. He stepped up in the absence of Gordon Hayward. That's been really cool. But when he scores 20 points in this one, and Richard Jefferson continues constantly to remind everyone watching that game that Miles is a budding star, I don't know if I'd go that far yet, but it is nice to see what Miles has been doing. You know, what Miles is a guy that is wildly entertaining, and he's starting to play basketball at a extremely confident level. There, you know, the two plays that come to mind, the double clutch buzzer beater at the end of the third quarter. I mean, awesome, right? For him to get to his spot, know the exact situation, and throw something up there. Really cool to see. But also that block that he had on Jaylen Brown, swatting the hell out of it against the glass. PJ Washington gets it, runs the break, and then hits Terry Rozier in a trail three. And Miles, they cut to him after that block, and Miles just gives the smirk and nods his head. And it's just, he's playing at a different confidence level. And I think it's so visible to see that with him more so than any other player with the Hornets. And I think that's what's been a lot of fun. But what a great game from a lot of different guys. 4 guys scoring 20 points. The starting lineup box score was awesome heading into the fourth quarter. And then you didn't have Martin scoring as much, but 13 and 3/4, you take that any day from him. Really impressive showing from the top 5 guys in this one. And Brad Wanamaker, too, getting some revenge against his old team.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that Miles is in the neighborhood of the 50, it's 50, 40, 90, is that what we're talking about? Those are the 50, 40, 90 club, right? I mean,
yeah, he'd be the only Charlotte Hornet, I think, that's ever.
I was shocked. I was shocked when they put that up during that game, honestly. I mean, that is I mean, that is how well he has played this year. And it sounds crazy to mention him in the budding star category. I'm totally with you, Walker. But then you look at that and you look at what he's done, how he's actually picked it up since Hayward went out. I mean, they kept harping on that. And I would have never predicted that. I mean, when Hayward went out, I was not saying, well, we'll need Miles Bridges to step up, because I just didn't think it was possible. I didn't know where they were going to get it from. But he has been the second go-to guy after Terry for most of this run. And that's something I thought he had in his arsenal this year, or maybe ever. Like, he's been here for a little bit. I don't know if I saw him making that jump this quick in that little window.
Yeah, it's been really amazing to watch his development, both on ball, his ability to handle, create plays for himself, create plays for others, but then also work off ball, especially on the defensive end.
Yeah.
Like, he's just been great at just being aware of what's happening defensively and being able to impact plays by stepping over. Sometimes he gets the shot block, but sometimes he just affects the play by just running someone out of the lane on help defense. And so it's just been great competency. I mean, just seeing him be able to sort of just stay on the floor and know what's going on and impact things in a variety of ways. He scored 20. PJ had 22 in this one. Rozier had 21. Graham led the way with 24. So it was nice. You had, in the game against Cleveland, you had 3 players score 25. And in this one, you had 4 players score 20 plus. Now, I don't know how sustainable that is. This seemed to be sort of a perfect scenario. Everybody was shooting well. I mean, Brad Wanamaker was 6 of 12 from the floor for 12 points. I don't know if you're getting that every game, but this was I think unquestionably the best performance of the year. Now, I want to go back to Miles for a second, because I texted you, David. I said, wow, it looks like Miles could be like a legitimate second or third piece on a dangerous playoff team, right? Like, I don't know if it's like big 3 category, but I mean, I think he could be a legitimate second piece. But what's it going to take, for him to get to that next level? Because right now it's been amazing, but what does it take for him to sort of get to that next level, get some all-star recognition, and become a star in this league? Anyone want to take that?
I mean, playoff performance certainly won't hurt, right? I mean, that's going to be the stamp that really signifies it. So we'll see how he does in that regard. I mean, just continued consistency, though. If he can play this out over a longer portion of the season, do it in key moments, do it against big-time players and big-time games. I mean, that's what's going to do it. But
narrative, baby. I always talk about narrative, knocking down shots in those key moments. It matters. Like, we can talk about these accumulated stats, look at averages, but you're right. I think you're so right. So much of this comes down to how does he do in big games and big moments.
Well, and the other thing, once the Hornets get healthy, right, once they get their other guys back, can he still do it? Is he doing that when the game is a little bit different for everyone?
Right. So the usage goes down for Miles. They're not looking to him as much because Gordon is someone that was getting all-star consideration before he started to tail off a little bit, still playing pretty well for the most part of the season. Then you get LaMelo Ball, who is going to have the basketball in his hands constantly, being the lead point guard for this team. And he's the draw, right? Like, as I prefaced it when talking about Miles, when Melo isn't in, it's Miles who's the most entertaining player because he's the best in-game dunker in the association, along with developing other skills around him. But when LaMelo's in, that guy is a top 3, top 4 player under 25 in the league. So we're going to be paying attention to him. He's got the basketball in his hands. Gordon's got the basketball in his hands. Malik is going to come in and have the basketball in his hands, along already with the Devontae and other guys. So that's the question. I think you hit it at the end, David. It's when they get healthy, where does Miles go from there? Are they still looking to go to Miles every once in a while? Are they going to be drawing up more looks? I just wanted to get him in space, to be honest, right? Like, I want dude's real strong. We know how athletic he is. If he continues to shoot really well from 3, which he has all year, right? Like, we haven't seen these big dips from him this season. He's actually been pretty consistent, and the higher volume has actually brought a better efficiency to Miles, which has been fantastic to see. So that I want to see what his role is when Gordon, LaMelo, they're back in the lineup. And I'll say this, I don't know if we're going to be able to see that if Gordon Hayward misses the rest of the year. The unpredictability of all of these injuries, man, we might not see it with Gordon. He might just be out for the whole damn regular season.
Yeah,
I want to show you some stats really quick from Miles Bridges. This is from Cleaning the Glass.
Look at this.
Look at this drastic jump on points per shot attempt. 104.7 to 125.4%. And look at the usage. It's actually down this season
it has to be. Yeah.
over last season. And assists per usage, he's been making plays for others in a way that he wasn't. Now he's turning the ball over more, which I think the entire team is. It's been tough.
Yeah.
It's been tough turnover wise for this team. But just really amazing stuff. And I mean, I've just been incredibly impressed, David.
Well, and Nada's got to be hammering home the point of development by the staff, right? I mean, it's another kind of it's another thumbs up in that category because they've really done a good job bringing him along. It kind of reminds you of like the jump that Kemba made from like whatever year 3 to year 4 when he just went to another level. This one seems to have happened in a shorter amount of time, but similar, like a guy that's been around that you think's kind of topped out, has hit their ceiling, and then just makes another jump up. But that's the thing that we're just going to have to wait and see, and we won't know. And to your point, Walker, I mean, hopefully we see something. Hopefully they can get everyone back some semblance of being whole so they can get an accurate look of just how well they can play together. But right now, you just got to be happy to have that problem on your hands.
Well, and Walker, these stats right here sort of speak to what you're talking about. So this is a trend line for his effective field goal percentage, and he's gotten above position average about a quarter way through the season, and it's just gone up from there, but it's been consistent. You don't see kind of the major dips. Let's look at 3-point percentage again. You're just seeing kind of consistency from him across the board. And I would like to also just throw this tantalizing thought out there, which is that once they get Malik Monk back, that's an easy plug-in. Gordon Hayward, honestly, if they're going to play PJ Moore at center, that's an easy plug-in. Now you've got your starting lineup. You move Devontae down as your sort of tandem 6-man scoring threat with Malik Monk. And then if they get LaMelo back, then you've got a whole. This could be one of the deeper teams.
It's the guy that unlocks Miles, right? Like LaMelo is the guy that unlocked Miles, and now Miles has been playing like this without Melo. Think about when Ball comes back. Yes, you're not going to be putting Bridges in a whole lot of ISOs, kind of like what he's playing a little bit more. You're not going to be putting the basketball in his hands more, but he's going to be the guy lurking to dunk on your head on the baseline because Melo is just going to throw a no-look pass up there, and Miles is going to go get it.
It could unlock Gordon too, because now you have to pay attention to Miles Bridges. There is a danger now that exists that with Miles Bridges that did not exist at the beginning of this season and has to be factored in to a team's game plan if they go up against the Charlotte Hornets in the playoffs. But I think this could be one of the deeper teams, sneaky deep teams in the Eastern Conference if they get all these players back at the right time.
Yeah, and now it certainly was this year. I mean, when they had all those guys healthy, you could run that second wave in there and not lose much of anything. It was still exciting. It was still fun to watch. So, yeah, that's been one of their strengths. And now with Miles just playing at a different level, it adds to it. But, yeah, I mean, think about that. If Gordon could get freed up even more, that's a real dangerous team on offense for sure.
Well, and then you just need, and saying everybody needs to be consistent, it's a lot harder than just that, right? Like, hey, be better at basketball on a daily basis. So
make your shots for crying out loud.
It's tough to say that, but PJ and Devontae have been guys that have just been inconsistent this year. And I don't think PJ's been outright bad, but he's just been inconsistent. He's had the peaks and the valleys, unlike Miles, who's just been rock solid, even in a different type of role where we're leaning on him a little bit more. 4 of the last 5 games, PJ scored over 20 points. His 3-point percentage is pretty good. You'll take what he's shooting from 3 this year for the rest of his career and be just fine with it. But his shooting at the rim isn't as good. That's him trying to learn how to play offensively as a center down closer to the basket. The turnovers for him are a little up because they tried the experiment with the basketball in his hands a little bit more. Devontae is real interesting to me too, guys. Like I don't know if we want to go down this tangent with Devontae, but I find him the most polarizing, the hardest guy for me to get a handle on, just because of the counting stats, differentiating with the advanced stats, with the inconsistency from him. It's pretty wild, shooting wise at least. But he doesn't turn the ball over. I looked at some of his stats compared to
assist to turnover ratio.
It's fantastic.
It's pretty good.
It's fantastic. The thing is, you put his usage percentage up with guys that are in that ballpark where he is, a lot of guys have the same kind of turnover rate. And they don't have the assist to turnover rate with that kind of usage, but there are some. Like it's not absolutely insane, right? Like Ben Simmons is in that category, but also Ben Simmons is an all-star. Kyle Lowry's in that, but also Kyle Lowry's an all-star. And they're also not shooting 37% from the field. And oh my God, it's worse than that from 2. And so that's my problem.
I'll give you something that kind of supports that too. I've always thought about this, like a badly missed 3 doesn't count as a turnover. But as fast as teams play and as effective as teams can be at attacking you off of those missed 3s, it almost sort of is a live ball turnover. When you badly miss a 3. And
it's a long board. The Hornets. Yeah. At the Hornets, you're not getting rebounds. So yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that kind of supports that as well. I mean, there have definitely been times, and everybody's been guilty of it this season, and everybody across the league's been guilty of it. But I think more so Devontae Graham, a lot of missed 3s that have been taken back for easy buckets on the other end.
3s and the disappointing thing for me and Devontae, I think, is that he has not been able to improve the non-3 shot. You don't even want to call it mid-range.
It was a focus,
and
for
so him. Maybe with it. And look. No off season, weird season, pandemic, all that stuff. But you feel like he could have gotten some shots up. Not that he didn't, but he's got to get, when they run him off that line, that's a miss. Like, you almost count it as a miss, and you're surprised when it goes in. So he's got to be able to add that, I think, to just kind of keep his place, keep his threat out there offensively when they know that he's got that open 3 in his arsenal and can hit that better than the 2.
Well, William Shatner has had tinnitus ever since a Star Trek pyrotechnics
Mm-hmm.
Pyrotechnic accident.
Yeah.
Is that the right word? Pyrotechnic?
I don't know.
Fireworks accident. He's had tinnitus, which is a ringing in your ear, ever since a Star Trek.
I thought you were saying tendinitis.
That's what I thought too. And I thought Doug was just putting a weird spin on it.
Tinnitus ever since a pyrotechnic accident.
Okay. Okay. Man,
glad it's
that
all
sucks.
Right,
I hate that for him. Are we good on the Shat Facts? Did you want to lead us down? Did you want to lead us down?
I'm sorry, you were waiting for the Shat Facts.
Yeah, I was waiting for that. That's exactly what I was waiting for.
Final comments, and then we got to give some medals out and get the heck out of here. Walker.
Final medals?
Final. You had a final comment. It seemed like you had one more thing you wanted to say, and then we give out medals at the end of every show.
No, the thing I was gonna talk more about Devontae. I do think he's the most interesting player even going forward, because you could also justify paying him some money for the really good assist to turnover ratio, the poise, the comfort that you have when he's got the basketball in his hands, and he's turned the ball over in pretty key situations at the end of games. For somebody that doesn't turn it over all that much, he's kind of had some bad turnovers at the end, but still you could justify paying him if you didn't have LaMelo on your roster too.
And
Monk, who's not going to cost as much. And this is another point I brought up. How much has his injury actually saved the Hornets some money for a different offer sheet from a different team out there? If Monk just would have kept shooting 40% in the last 15 games that he's missed or whatever, and shooting really well from the field and at the rim, then that price just keeps getting driven up. But now he's been injured. Our team's scared of his injury history. They're not going to offer him all that much money. The Hornets decide, all right, well, he's cheaper. And you got Terry too, who is a better shooter. That guy is an elite catch and shoot player in the league, and he's going to cost a lot of money. And so it's just not the right situation that panned out for Devontae to justify paying him, in my opinion.
Or the Hornets have talent.
Or do they balance the fact that you can trust him with the ball? They've got these other guys developed now that can shoot. Do they say, hey, maybe we don't need Devontae scoring 20 points a night, hitting a bunch of threes? I don't know.
Listen to the conversation that we're having. I mean,
Are
this is an amazing.
Are they too good? Let's break it down.
This is an amazing conversation that we're having around Hornets basketball. They have all of these players. What are we going to do with all of these players?
Flush. God, they're flush.
They're like the inside of that Manier.
Break up the Hornets.
Manier. Shutik.
It was a good run. Listen, it was a good run.
Shunasex. That's the takeaway. Shutik and Shunasex. That's what I want to take away.
Okay, let's give out some medals every show. At the end, we give out a gold medal, a silver medal, and a bronze medal for the week that was. Again, only 3 games to look at. I think we'll start with bronze medal. Who do we think bronze medal? Because I think gold and silver is some combination of PJ and Miles. Would you agree or disagree with that?
Yeah. If PJ going 4 of 5 20-point performances, but the other one playing 13 minutes and 2, that can bring it down a little bit. But
what
it's
up
not
with
like
that?
a ton of people didn't gain a whole lot of traction on him. I think I would agree. Give me gold medal, Miles, and
I agree with that.
And then PJ. I'm fine with putting PJ there too, because again, defensively, he's good for a block a night at 6'7". And again, like when I was looking up those stats, to be top 20 and top 16 when you actually filter out substantial evidence, right? And to be the shortest dude there for sure. Defensively, I've heard Borrego mention like twice, yeah, this might be one of the best overall games for the Hornets and PJ Washington. He's got to at least medal at a pretty high regard, but Miles is just doing too much for PJ to take the gold.
Seems easy, David, but I think bronze has to go to Rozier. I mean, I think it has to go to the top 3 guys who are holding this ship together at this point.
Yeah, I was flirting with Devontae just because of such a big game against the Celtics in a national TV game, and a really, I mean, a big win for that team. But Terry,
but we spent a whole segment taking a big poop on him.
I mean,
he sucks. No, he's not. He's no good. He's no good.
No, right. I don't.
Walker took a big poop on him. I still believe in Devontae.
Do you think G League, maybe if he doesn't have a good performance, maybe he gets sent down? Yeah, that's the thing. Like,
listen, he can walk into that coach's office anytime he wants. That's his future. We all know it. He's a coach in waiting. So
for sure. Yeah, he's the Ronald Norred of this team. For me, like I think that's the thing that's so interesting is he goes 10 assists and 0 turnovers in Cleveland, but he shot 2 of 13 from 3. He took 13 shots and made 2 of them. And I'm not even hating on you for bringing him up because it was a good game against Boston, and he did have the 10-0 assist turnover ratio, but just a lot of missed shots, man. It's a lot of missed shots from Devontae.
Terry. Then we all agree.
Terry
yes, I would agree.
The bronze, and I would say Terry should just automatically get bronze. The rest, or not, or bronze or above.
Unless he's
bronze or above,
the
because
bronze spot.
I think, guys, his attitude has just permeated through this team. Like his guts, his competitiveness. I mean, I can't confirm this, but I gotta feel like he's a voice in the locker room.
Oh, he is. He's got to be. Yeah,
he's got to be someone that's just like
I said that
pulling
like I
this
could
team
confirm
up.
it. Like me and T Row, as I like to call him, we talk about it all the time. How he's the leader in that locker room, but I could confirm that.
Yeah, listen, you don't come to this podcast for confirmed facts. You come to this podcast for Shat Facts, like this one. William Shatner once auctioned off one of his kidney stones to raise money for Habitat for Humanity.
All right, now I want to play Price is Right. I want to tweak with the antenna ears because Price is
Homes
Right.
for stones.
Price is Right. Wow. Is that's that and The Simpsons? It's the first show that I think of when I think of the antenna. Price is Right, Muffley, midday, Bob Barker, midday, especially homesick from school, and then you got to get the signal just right. Bob Barker is allowing me to enjoy my sick day. So let me tweak with that. How much is a William Shatner kidney stone being sold for?
Good question.
I mean, I think everybody's going to overbid because of how precious that stone really is. So I'm going to go $1, Bob.
Okay, you're just expecting us. You're expecting us to go.
Everybody's going to go way. All the crazy Trekkie fans. They want a little piece of old Shat.
That was always the biggest jerk on Price is Right. To go $1. Like you're just it was always the biggest jerk.
Absolutely not.
That's Doug. That's Doug's.
It's called strategy,
bro.
Yeah, it's fine. It's legal. It doesn't mean that you're not a jerk. It doesn't mean that you're not the worst type of human.
It's called. Well, you know what? I'll be spinning that wheel. I'll be a jerk spinning that wheel
in the showcase,
baby. Thanks for listening to This Is Not a Serious Hornets podcast, or maybe you watched us on YouTube. We stream these episodes live. You can check it out. The link is on our Patreon page, patreon.com/HornetsPod. You can also find out more information about how to support this free show. And we're not putting ads on the show, annoying ads. The only thing annoying about this show is that we didn't get to all of the Shat Facts. We're making it up as we go along, but it's only getting better for David and Walker. Go listen to Locked On Hornets. They do this every day, and they actually have confirmed facts about the Hornets.
That's right.
So go listen to Locked On Hornets.
We'll go with that.
For David, I'm Doug saying, go Hornets, go America. Let's swarm Charlotte.
Nostalgia.